People always want to hear the story of my crazy ex-girlfriend. All right, well, the agreement we have to make when I tell these stories is you have to understand that in order to tell a good story, I cannot be very good at PUBG at the same time. Agreed? Are we agreed, everyone? Okay. All right. Herein lies the story of one named Allie. So I guess I should start at the beginning. Here, I'll go story voice for you. In the beginning, I was a doorman. I was working at a place called The Whiskey, a nightclub in Calgary, Alberta, an illustrious place where many fights would occur on a weekly basis. And in the nightclub industry, there are many positions, and the entry-level position for the females is what they call the beer tub. The beer tub is where you stand next to a tub of beer and sell beer to people who walk past you, like a street merchant for alcohol laden with as they say. And I was working at this place. I'd been there for a little while, and this girl who was one of the beer tubbies, as we like to call them, comes up to me and says, "Hey, how old are you?" And I was like, "That's a weird question to start with. What's your name?" And she's like, "Oh, my name's Denise," or whatever. And I was like, "Hey, Denise, I'm 23, I think I was at the time." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Do you have a girlfriend?" I was like, "Whoa, whoa." And she basically, at that stage, I'm like, all right, either you're extremely forward, or you're asking for someone else. And it turns out she was asking for someone else. And this person's name was Allie. And Allie was a other beer tub girl. Okay. So we're all in the same pot here. We're all working together. And it turns out Allie likes me. She wants to know more about me. So I go over and I start talking to her, this and that. You know, we agree to go out for a coffee, you know, and I asked a little bit about her, you know, like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 24. What are you doing? I'm working at a tanning salon. Cool. What else? What's up? What else is up? Like, oh, my dad is an executive at General Motors. My mom owns a steel company. My sister's a surgeon. I work at a tanning salon. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you know, everyone, I'm not going to judge because I'm a doorman and my family is all relatively successful as well. So, you know, just because her family's super successful doesn't mean that, you know, she's not going to find her way eventually. And I learned after that, she says that she has a nursing degree and that she chooses not to work in nursing because she doesn't like the work. And I was like, fair enough. Nursing sounds like it probably sucks with all the puke and the poop and the whatnot. Anyways, so we get to dating and I like her. And again, if you guys are all about, you know, PG-13, I'm here to tell you, my primary motivation for dating this girl as a 23-year-old male juiced to the gills on the steroids was that she could suck a like nobody else. Okay. And that was very motivating to me. Anyway, so a long time goes by. Like she meets my parents. I meet none of her family. You know, she wants to start, you know, talking about moving in together. And at that point, I was like, well, if we're going to move in together, you know, my credit's not so good because I'm made out of bricks. I don't know why I bleeped the word bricks there. My brain is literally a brick is what the point is. I had ruined my credit by like getting too many cell phones or something, you know? And I was like, well, if we're going to be applying for stuff, you know, we're going to have to, you know, my credit's a little worse. She's like, oh, well, you know, my parents will help us and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I start looking for apartments, and I was like, well, listen, you know, we're not making a ton of money. You're a beer tub girl. I'm a doorman. I'm in university. You're working at a tanning salon. You've got this nursing degree. Maybe we could put that to use and maybe use that and we can, you know, have a little bit more money. And she's like, okay, I guess you're right. And like 2 days go by. She calls me. She's like, hey, it's me. I got a job. And I was like, oh, you got a job doing what? And she's like, I got a job at a hospital where, you know, I'm going to be doing this administrative work. I don't even have to do nursing. They're going to pay me a nursing wage, but I don't even have to do any nursing. And I was like, sounds great. So we go to this place to apply, and she's like, well, do I have to put my name on it? I was like, yeah, we're both applying. You know, you're the one who's going to have the better income. She's like, well, you know, my mom, you know, she took out a credit card in my name a little while ago, and I think my credit's messed up. And I was like, well, sorry, what? Your mom took a credit card out in your name? She's like, yeah, it was for my sister. I'm like, wait, your sister, the surgeon? She's like, no, my other sister. I was like, you have another sister? And she's like, yeah, her name's Rochelle or something. I was like, okay. So, anyway, that was like one time. Listen, chat, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of red flags in this story, but let me again draw your attention back to the sucking. Okay. A lot of things can be happening and you will just look past it. Anyway. So, some more time goes by and, you know, I basically, we shelf the idea of moving in together because it's just not going to work out. And then the time comes where it's like Christmas time and things are getting more and more serious. And I call her because I wanted to, you know, meet her for lunch. And I was like, hey, I'm in the area. At that point, I had taken a second job as like a loss prevention guy. So I was driving around doing surveillance and stuff like that. I was near where she works and I call her up and I was like, hey, I'm by the hospital. Do you want to get some lunch? And she's like, well, I'm not there. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, where are you? And she's like, well, I'm at the mall. And I was like, you're at the mall? And she's like, yeah, I'm here on break. And I was like, well, the mall's like 10 minutes away from where you work, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I can come to the mall. We can grab a bite to eat. She's like, okay, well, I changed out of my work clothes. So, you know, I'm just going to be in my street clothes. I'm like, I don't care. Let's go for lunch. We go for lunch. Okay. Again, no red flags. No red flags here at all. And, the next day, or well, actually about a week later, I would say, you know, I just call her up again. This time I'm at the hospital. It is 1:30 in the afternoon. Lunchtime is over. Break time is over. She should be at work. And this was not designed. I wasn't trying to catch her doing anything, but I just call her up like, hey, I'm by the hospital again. Do you want to go for lunch do you want to grab a coffee or I'll bring you a coffee? I said I was going to bring her a coffee to her unit. What unit are you in? Because my first girlfriend, I should mention, was also a nurse, so I have an idea as to how these things work. I'm not at work. Where are you? Well, I'm at the mall. I was like, what are you doing at the mall? She's like, oh, I had to stop in and grab an undershirt because I need new undershirts. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, do you want to meet at the mall again? And she's like, no. I was like, all right, well, see you later, I guess. So at that point, I got a little like a little nugget took hold in my chest area. And I was like, something ain't right here. So in Alberta and in most other countries, oh my God, what? Okay, I guess I'm being beat to death. In most other provinces, in order to be a nurse, you have to be a registered nurse, right? So she had to be registered. And just on a whim, I type in her name into the search engine for registered nurses in Alberta. No match. Doesn't come up at all. A single bead of sweat. At this point, I had been working as like a semi-private investigator, so I start making some calls. I call the school she said she went to. She didn't go to. That was a little greasy. Like I pretended to be a hiring person that was like looking for a reference, but they couldn't find her. So she didn't go to university. And then I start looking up her parents' names. Her mom is a receptionist at a steel company, but certainly does not own it. Her sister, I have no idea. She just lives in San Diego. That's all I know. And then like her dad is just like retired or was a plumber or something. Just like none of the things were true. And at this point, I'm like, what the f***? Like we had been dating for a year and a half. It was a long time. Okay. I go over to her house and I was like, hey, here's all these things. And she's like, what? I was like, what do you mean what? I'm like, you're not, as far as I know, you're not a registered nurse. As far as I know, none of the things you said are true. And I start hitting her with this stuff and she starts to crack. Like, you know, like I had caught her in these lies like I'm some sort of super sleuth. It only took me a year and a half to figure out that she had lied to me about literally everything in her entire life. Nice one, Mose. But anyway, she's like, I don't know what you mean. I have my red seal. And I was like, are you a f***ing chef? Like, what do you mean red seal? What does that mean? And she's like, I mean, I have my certificate. It's under the sink. I'm like, a certificate in nursing? Like, what are you talking about? This isn't intro to mathematical studies or babysitting or something that you get a certificate for. Yeah, and she's like, no, seriously, I graduated. I went to this. I'm like, no, you didn't. And like, at that point I started to feel sad because this person's a lunatic. I didn't know that she was a lunatic for the year and a half that she was sucking my dick I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, is there anything, like, now is the time, talk to me. Like, what else is there? And she's like, well, nothing. I mean, I'm working at the hospital, I swear. I'm like, what is your job? She's like, I'm an administrative nurse. I'm like, stop it. You're not a nurse. Okay. Like, it's okay. Like, it's, you know, I was like, I'm out of here. And she's like, no, seriously. Like, look, I have the parking sticker on my ID. And she hands me her ID. She's 27. She's 27. She is 3 years older than she said she was. I go home and, you know, we don't talk. And I was like we, you know, like we're in, I don't think I can see you again. And she's like, no, she calls me repeatedly. And, you know, I'm not going to lie to you, Chad. Maybe we dated for an additional 6 months after that because, like I said in the beginning, she sucks a great dick. You can't just, you know. And then we eventually broke up, and now I tell the story a lot. I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, there were so many things. Like, there was so many things that should have, you know. I believe the scientific term is dick blind. Oh, I messed up the beep. I was blinded. Oh yeah. Epilogue. Years later, like a year and a half ago later, I have elevated myself through the ranks of loss prevention, and now I have like a really good job working for a company, a big company. My brother is a store manager in this company. I might have been like a corporate office employee. He was still in the stores. He's older than I am. It's not something we talked a lot about. Okay. I roll into the year-end meeting. Okay. It's Q4. It's like December 1st. There's every store manager, every cosmetics manager, every assistant manager is in this room. I've got the president or the vice president of the region is there. I'm about to roll in and give a speech. Now, I have no fear of public speaking. Not a problem. So I'm walking through the room, and I get to the front, and I see my brother, and to his immediate right is this girl. He hired her at his store, I should say. And she's been telling people for 6 months that we were engaged. And I'm sitting there like shook.